Well, Steven, we're here. We're almost done with Community. I didn't think we'd ever make it, but we made it. And I think, how about, just for old time's sake, we record intro to the podcast just one more time.
Let's do it, Zach. I think we can handle it. If you like what we do here, make sure you mosey on over to patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. For as little as $5 a month, you too can feed a Zach and Steven in need, and you'll get access to all sorts of awesome content. Our weekly live pre-show that we do, You Can't Diss a Pre-Show. We've got some bonus podcasts on there. Days and days, just scads of content over there for you. Plus maybe some new stuff coming soon, so make sure you put your ear to the ground, send us your bones, throw us at least a $5 and see what it'll get you.
Follow us on Twitter over at You Can't Diss a Pod and tell us what show we should talk about next.
If you just can't get enough, watch those patties and come over and double tap us on Instagram over at Can't Disappoint Podcast. We're also on Facebook and YouTube under the whole name of the show, You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. All sorts of vids, things to like, subscribe, and slap the bell to get notified.
After we finish the series finale of Community, we'll still be a weekly community podcast for the rest of 2022 as we conduct a series of community superlative podcasts where we'll be creating top 5 lists on several different community-related topics. Follow us on all our social medias to see how you can be a part of those final podcast episodes.
Speaking of 5, if you think that we're both 5-star men and this is a 5-star show, make sure you leave a review wherever you review your podcasts, on Apple Music, on Yelp, on Spotify, on TripAdvisor. We're there. Just check us out.
Everyone, it has been an honor to do this Community Rewatch podcast for the past few years, and I hope you'll stick around with us as we wrap it up and move on to the next thing. Steven, what do you have to say as we move onward and upward?
Thanks for sticking with us as long as you have. We hope that you hitch your get-alongs to our pick-em-up and ride along with us into whatever the future holds.
All right, and for one of the last times, let's do it. Let's start the episode of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. Okay. Hey, howdy, hi, everybody. We're back. We're here, we're queer, and we're ranketeers.
Nice. I prefer to racketeer, because that's being a gangster, I think.
Racketeer, is that not like you're playing racquetball?
Rocketeer is the hit 2000 song by Fly Like a G6 artists' Far East movement.
Now the Raconteurs are one of my favorite Jack White projects.
That's fair.
All right.
Then and Raccoon City is where Resident Evil takes place. The movies.
And raccoons. I don't know. I don't have a thing for raccoons.
And Charlie Kuntz.
Oh.
Great actor. Underrated actor in general, but one of our favorite characters on Community, which brings us to our why we're here, Zach. Why are we here?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. We'll get to that in a second. You're rushing. You're just
we introduce ourselves and then we riff, then we talk about the show.
We haven't introduced ourselves yet, though.
I'm waiting.
But you set up. No, we're nailing this out. You set it up as if you wanted me to say what list we're here to do.
Well, I wanted you to be like, "Hey, I'm Peyton List, star of Disney Channel's Jessie."
Hi, everybody. Welcome to a very special and beginning to test my patience already edition of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. We're back for another week of community superlatives, another top 5 list that I'm very excited to dig into. Hi, everyone. I am Listerine Mouthwash. I didn't want to steal your Peyton List one. That was too good. Who are you?
That was good. I can't do Peyton List, can I?
Were they in anything else that you know of? You could be Peyton List, star of something.
Okay, hold on. I got this. Let me pull out my Disney teeny bopper black
subreddit.
Yeah, and see what else Peyton List was in. I don't know. Probably something.
Welcome, everyone.
Hey, I'm
Off to a great start.
the only thing I can think of that says listen is ableist, and I don't want to say that I'm that.
Well, now you have. I don't think you understand how podcasting works. Once you've said it, it's out there.
Hey, I'm listless, loveless Lady Lockley,
All right.
and I'm here to talk to you.
Well, me and Lady Lockley are just pleased as punch to be back for another week. And of course, we can't even think about starting this show without shouting out our $10 and up patrons over at patreon.com/can't disappoint podcast. Those people, of course, are Danny M. Lugo, Mary Baker Budisa, Brian Thurman, Planeswalker Prez, Emmy Azrael, Brandon Folkemer, and Conversations with Robbie Sherman.
Wow,
Great
welcome
people.
everybody.
We
What a
love 'em all.
good list of people. She's on hey, it's Peyton List of Bunked.
That's the spinoff to Jesse.
Oh, is it the same characters?
It is.
Wow. Didn't
Like
watch
3
that
of
one.
them go to summer camp or something.
Oh yeah, looks like it.
And Jesse
Nice, good
went
for
back
them.
to her home planet.
Not a
Excuse me?
not all of them went. R.I.P.
What are you laughing about over there?
Cause fuck, never mind. That's too far. He was a kid when he died, right? I'm not gonna say anything.
Oh.
Cameron
Boyce, come on the show. Let's talk.
Cameron Boyce. I liked Cameron Boyce. What happened to him?
He should be in more stuff, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that kid was just starting to really pop off. Of course, we can't also begin the show without mentioning the man who really pops me off, and that is, of course, our proud community papa at Communities on Twitter. Hey, Papa, wink. I sent you a
Epilepsy,
beer. What
is
you
what it
doing after
was.
this? What about epilepsy? Stop making jokes about it. You had your chance to back out, and we keep going back. We keep tragically.
Peyton List of Cobra Kai fame here to tell you about some fun stuff. Hey there, Zach. Thanks to the patrons. Thanks to our dear old daddy, who's always given me a spoon when I start to shake a little too much. So thanks for that.
So this has all been unusable so far. So let's move on. I want to talk about Barbarian. It's past spooky season now, but it's still fall sort of looking outside, and I can't shake the movie Barbarian that we've both watched
Well, and
now.
thanks to global
and have
warming,
really
Zach,
enjoyed.
it doesn't really
Yeah.
start feeling spooky outside till mid-November anyway. So
Sure.
yeah, let's talk about Barbarian. I watched it a week ago. I was really excited to see it. You had talked pretty highly about it,
Yeah.
so I checked it out, not knowing anything at all.
And you
going in.
shouldn't.
Hadn't watched a trailer.
Let me set it
Nothing.
up for people. This is all you need to know to be interested in the movie. It's pretty much the only thing that's in the trailer, and it's like the first 2 minutes of the movie or so. So a young girl shows up at her Airbnb before a job interview the next day, late at night while it's raining, and is surprised to find out that there's somebody else staying there already. And against her better judgment, she decides to go inside and ends up being convinced to stay the night there, where this other person is also staying. And from there, it's a big mystery of, can I trust this person who I am sharing the space with? And also, are there other things going on in this Airbnb that they should both be scared of? And it is just incredibly tense the
Yeah.
entire time because you don't know what the thing is until a certain point of the movie. And even now, I've seen it twice. And once you have seen it and you know what the thing is by the end of the movie, it's still just as tense watching it the second time. I loved it.
It got me pretty good on one of the jump scares, and I'm not super easily jump scareable, but it got me a couple times in this, which I always give credit to a movie when it can get me.
It's directed and written by Zach Kreger, who is one of the Whitest Kids You Know guys. Do you know
Great.
him?
I remember The Whitest Kids You Know.
He directed, like, Whitest Kids You Know did a movie called Miss March. Do you remember that movie?
Mm-mm.
And he directed that, but this was like his, I don't know, similar to someone like Jordan Peele who had done other things, but then like made a big statement with the movie called Get Out. I feel like this is this guy showing that he can write and direct a movie, and he can put together a really interesting, thought-provoking story. Justin Long has an appearance in this film, plays
he was great in it.
Secondary character that both like plays completely with the type of guy you think Justin Long is, while also totally turning around and making him a totally different kind of asshole than you would usually think a guy like that would be. And it's a really interesting turn for him. I think he's really good. The main actress, Georgina Campbell, I think is the main actress's name. She's really, really good. Which Skarsgård is it that's in it?
Not Peter. Yes, Peter Skarsgård.
It's not Peter.
Okay, it's not Peter then.
I don't think there is a Peter.
There's a Peter Skarsgård.
It's like Bill Skarsgård and like Stellan Skarsgård.
Well, it's neither of them.
Yes, it is.
It's not Bill Skarsgård.
It's whoever was Pennywise.
Yeah, Bill Skarsgård.
Okay, that's enough because people didn't come here to hear about that. But before we
get
away from it,
for our Skarsgård talk.
We'll get back to Skarscast in a second.
Sam Skarsgård looks like Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 3.
If you were a letterboxed type person, out of 5 stars, Barbarian, what does it get on the Steven scale?
4.4.
That's not. It only goes. It's like if you clearly don't use Letterboxd. You could do 4. You could do 4.5.
Yeah, I don't want to. I give it a 4.4.
I give it 4.5. I think it's a really satisfying, thrilling movie. Exactly the type of thing you want out of the movie like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's move on to what we're really here to talk about today, the next in our series of community superlatives. I'm very excited to be back to do another list. You guys know we take these lists and our placement of episodes within the list very, very seriously. And this was a fun and interesting list to make. Today we're doing top 5 underrated episodes of the show. You know, it's really, like, it's challenging, but it's an easier to find list to do, like, top 5 season 1 episodes, top 5 homage episodes even was a little easier. This is like a vague concept that underrated means something different to everybody. So I'm really excited to see what you've got here, Steven.
Yeah,
what was your process for
I
this
kind of
like?
approached, so I looked up a list of, like, basically it was community episodes, like, by IMDb score, kind of.
Cool.
And I went to the lower scores and found ones that I liked. Not all of these were found that way, but a couple of them.
That's an interesting
and this
way
isn't
to go about
necessarily episodes that I think are the best episodes of the show, but I
Right.
think have more merit to watching them than maybe at least I remember them having or knew of them having. So that's kind of where I went with this one.
My list, it has a lot more to do with that. It's not exactly lower rated episodes that I think are better than they're given credit for. It's more episodes of the show that I don't think are generally talked about as the upper echelon of community episodes that have a lot of deep stuff to offer that I think should be looked at again.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one because I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of... I have no idea where you went with your list. I wonder if we'll have any things in common.
Did you go first last time? Do you want me to give my number 5 first?
Yeah, do you have any honorable mentions for this one?
Oh boy, howdy do I. Yeah, I started off with a list of 10 episodes that ended up going into my top 5 underrated episodes. My honorable mentions for
So you're going to give
underrated
your
episodes.
top 10 now, Zach.
But these
So this
bottom
is a top
5,
10.
these bottom 5 of the top 10, I'm ranking my top 10, the bottom 5, I don't know. They're not in any particular order. My honorable mentions: Intro to Political Science. We've talked
They're
about
still your top 10 underrated episodes that you're giving us instead of... You see where I'm coming from.
kind of, but less and less the more you go back to it.
Because you're
You're
giving
the
us
one-
your top 10.
I almost
not necessarily
didn't
in
say
order.
them, and you prompted me to go back to it.
Well, I was curious. I figured maybe you'll like narrow it down to like a top 2. bottom 5
Honorable
of your
mentions.
top
Nope,
10.
there's 5, and you're getting them all. Intro to Political Science. Great episode. I do think it's a little underrated. I think it's hilarious. One of the best. One of the greats. I've also got Investigative Journalism. That's the Jack Black as Buddy episode. In fact, I think some people flat out don't really like that episode.
Well,
and
they're
I
wrong.
think Buddy is really funny. All of the shots that like insert Buddy into old shots from the series, and then stuff like the Owen Wilson cool study group. It's a great episode. Go watch it again. I've also got on here Competitive Ecology, the Todd episode. We talked on our roundtable about wedding videography being the best. The group is actually bad people episode. This is like number 2, if we're talking about that, where they're really just not great people in a funny way, satisfying way in this one. Also, honorable mention rounding it out, we've got Basic Human Anatomy, the Freaky Friday episode from season 4. I think it's a really great episode. Wanted to make sure I at least mention season 4 somewhere on any of these lists, you know? And finally, Basic Crisis Room Decorum, Community's 100th episode.
That was 6.
That was 5.
I don't know.
I said political science twice because you interrupted me and then I came back to it.
I don't know. I
Basic
think that
Crisis
was
Room
6.
Decorum, really funny episode. We gave a degree to a dog. I think you know by now it's one of me and Steven's favorite season 6 episodes, and I don't think enough people put it up highly. But that's not the list. Steven, you kick off the list, and I see where you
my
were
number
going with
5
that.
is
Yes.
wedding videography, and I don't know how underrated this episode is in the community, but I had never heard of it existing until we like got to that season to start recording.
So for you, it's like, why hasn't everybody been talking about this episode this entire time?
I think it's terrific.
I think people do go to now that's a man who knows how to marry his cousin, and like Elroy with the white people. People go to that all the time. But there's a lot more in that, like every moment in that episode.
Yeah, that episode
is worth mentioning.
Pretty close to perfect.
For my number 5 most underrated episode, I went actually with season 1's Christmas episode, Comparative Religion. Just because I think Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas and Epidemiology get all of the holiday episode and like regional holiday music and horror fiction and whatever. But I think Comparative Religion is one of the very best holiday episodes of the show.
Yeah.
And for people like us who like to complain that the show isn't getting to know its characters on a deeper level as often as we'd like, this is an episode that literally is about all of these people are of a different religion and what's it like to be in a friend group where everyone has different beliefs. I think they make some really great comments on the religion of all the characters while also telling a really funny story about Anthony and Michael Hall as the bully. I think it's a highlight. That's my number 5.
I agree, it's a great one. My number 4 is Beginner Pottery. I think that
good one.
It's one of my favorite episodes of the show just to watch. I think that the introduction of Rich as a character is so funny, and him being the antithesis to Jeff throughout the entire series is just hilarious.
Number 4, I've got The Psychology of Letting Go. Pierce's mom is dead, and it prompts several people of the study group to really take a look at what they believe about death and whether or not they should push that on to other people. I think there's some really deep messages here, even in a plot line about Jeff deciding whether or not to take people for ice cream. I think the whole thing of how involved should you get with other people's beliefs about what happens after you die, I think they talk about some of that stuff in a way you do not see on a sitcom very often. So I'll give it to that one.
I don't know why I don't like that one a ton.
Maybe we should both watch it again and see if we both really do like it and dislike it as much as we think.
Because I remember we podcasted about it, you really liked it, and I was kind of meh on it.
And then now it's been a year, so every time we come back to talking about it, it becomes even more heightened how much I liked it and how much you didn't like it.
My number 3,
4,
Basic
number 3.
Human Anatomy, the Freaky Friday episode. Love
Good
that
choice.
episode. I think it's great.
I love how I've got so much to say about every episode, and you're like, it's a good one. Another good one. What can I say?
I really like and this is something we kind of disagreed about a little bit, was, what was actually happening, who was helping who in this situation.
Sure. But either way, it prompted
really
a
like
good discussion. I don't think that demerits the episode. I think it's cool that an episode in season 4
love
we were able
Britta
to have
in this
that.
episode. One of my favorite Britta episodes of the whole series. I think actually, if I look at, never mind. I was gonna say something, but it's untrue.
You're not. All right.
Yeah.
And you know us, we're not in the business of saying things that are in any way, shape, or form untrue.
Well, we're real news.
Yeah. Donald Trump himself said so.
Go
my
listen
number
to the boys over at You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. They know what's up.
I don't know who that was, but thanks.
Donald Trump. That's what he sounds like to me.
Number 3, I went with Celebrity Pharmacology from season 2. That is the drug awareness play episode.
Love
I
that
think it's
episode.
hilarious. I think it's genuinely one of the best Annie episodes, one of the best Pierce episodes, and one of the best Chang episodes all in one. And it has so many funny bits with putting on the play, with the bee costumes and the front stingers, with Shirley's version of it versus everyone else's. I just think it's so funny, and it doesn't get talked about enough at all. Pierce saying Pokemon is one of Steven and I's most gone back to community quotes. We say it all the time.
All the time. Almost every time we enter some sort of call together, one of us yells Pokemon.
Pokemon. People not just with each other, job interviews, announcements of the passing of a loved one. We always said Pokemon.
I gave a eulogy and I sit up there and went Pokemon. And
you had a limp weed leaf costume on the whole time.
They were really
and
confused.
sparklers. All right.
My number 2, and I'm really pleased with this placement, Zach.
Aw.
Analysis of quirk-based networking.
Okay, tell me about
it. I
it.
think that the bear down for midterms is one of the funniest jokes the show tells. Garrett's, "It's a bear dance!"
I love how
legendary.
that's the very end of the episode because we know exactly what's going to... I don't know. Garrett has yelled and then chaos strikes out. This time Garrett yells and we cut. We know the chaos is striking out.
We know the chaos
and I think that's really smart.
And even though the rest of that episode is not perfect, I think that it's
say.
one that maybe gets looked down upon a little more than it should.
Well, it comes the episode after Troy leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that this made me feel like it was okay that Troy wasn't there anymore. Because I'm I can still laugh really hard.
They can still tell some of the funniest jokes they've ever told.
Chang's whole thing on you guys just never value my ideas. And he gets so upset. I think it's perfect.
I don't know if it's a race thing.
Yeah.
My number 2 is going to be Virtual Systems Analysis, the Dreamatorium episode where Abed plays all the study groups versus Annie. I think Annie is great in that episode, and I think it's one of the best episodes of putting us very far into Abed's mind without ever going silly.
The scene in the locker is great. That's one of my favorite parts of that
That's
episode.
my number 2. And it had a fight for number 1, but there was an episode I really wanted to highlight.
So my number 1, you may be able to guess it, Zach, because I think it's one.
With this list, I have no thoughts.
It's one of my personal favorites. Oh, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Herstory of Dance is my number 1.
That's not what I thought you were going to say. Interpretive Dance.
Oh shit.
Which is one of your favorite episodes of the series and would totally be an underrated episode.
I wrote the wrong thing.
I did not mean season 4's Herstory of Dance.
I did not mean season 4's
Or are you
Herstory
just
of
saying
Dance.
that because I made a better list than you?
No, I did not mean Herstory of Dance. I meant interpretive dancing.
Because that is
Herstory of
also a
Dance
good
is the
episode.
Sadie B. Hawkins dance.
Which is a great episode.
Dancing. Yes, it is a great episode.
I do think when we watched that episode, Herstory of Dance, you said it's one of your favorites of the series as well.
I do love that one, but I don't think it's as underrated.
I don't know about this. I'm gonna have to get a ruling or something on this. I don't know if I like your takesy backsies, but tell us about interpretive dance if that's your pick.
I don't know why this episode makes me so happy. I just think that I love the pairing of Troy and Britta, especially early on. And this episode, I think it ties together really funnily. What's the B plot in that one?
I don't know. You're the one who picked it.
I don't remember. But this episode makes me really happy, and I love going back and watching it, and it's like one of my comfort episodes, and I don't think that it's one that people remember as being one of the funniest necessarily, but I think it's a really funny episode, and it holds a special place in my heart.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It is because Steven thinks he's Troy, and he's a dancer, and he wants to kiss Gillian Jacobs. That's it. That's it.
And if it were just that, Zach, would that be incorrect?
My number 1 of the underrated episodes, going a totally different direction from where you went with it. My number 1 is going to be App Development and Condiments from Season 5.
Nice.
The Meow Meow Beans episode. I think it might just be... I think it has an argument for being the strangest episode of the entire series of the show.
It's
and
incredible.
I think it's very funny. it gives us Coogler, everything it does with like the like social dynamics of the fives being in this all white hidden layer. I don't know. I really love that episode, and I am surprised it doesn't get talked about as often as I think about it, because I think about it all the time.
Yeah, I guess in my mind that's not an underrated episode because it's so good, but possibly.
And maybe it's not. Again, this is all about what we think is underrated. So you guys tell us, did we pick episodes that aren't underrated? I'd be interested. Do you want to zoom on over to what lists have been prepared for us by our beloved listeners for this topic?
I do. I have a feeling, Zach, that I'm going to have some quote-unquote discourse with some of these.
Well, why don't you kick it off? Give us our first email.
Jeffrey motherfucking Malone.
You've been on thin ice, bud.
Top 5 underrated episodes. 5th.
We'll start with 5, yeah.
A tie for 5th between G.I. Jeff and Grifting 101. That's fair. I don't hate Grifting 101 as much as it seemed like the rest of the round table did.
Or G.I. Jeff.
I don't like G.I. Jeff that much.
I like G.I. Jeff.
Yeah.
Not a favorite, but
number
underrated
4,
for sure.
The Art of Discourse. Number 3.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about them including the Schmitty episode as underrated?
I hate the
Schmitty
Schmitty episode. I think it's garbage.
Okay, well, let's see what else we got.
Number 3, The Art of Discourse. Again.
Oh.
Okay. Don't like that. Number 2, The Art of Discourse. And number 1, The Art of Discourse. Jeffrey Malone, you are...
This is a personal attack on you.
I want you to leave me Malone. Okay?
Right.
J Mal. That what we calling you these days? Jeffy Mallow.
I'm going to move on while Steven calms down a little bit, takes a breather, hits himself with a shoulder massager. I'm going to move on to an email from our friend Ferris, who I don't know has written into us or not. Really glad you could take some time out of faking a sick day to write into us.
Yeah.
Ferris says top 5 underrated episodes. And then in all caps, because I think I mentioned this in another episode, Ferris says, the person who listed the Schmitty's episode 5 times, I incorrectly reported. It was only 4 times, but the person who listed the Schmitty's episode 5 times was right. They were correct. P.S. Duh. With an asterisk that leads us to the like annotated notes that say, I say duh in a friendly way, not in a I'm right, you're wrong way. XOXO, your pal Ferris. Now, Ferris, that was just not what we asked out of an email.
Yeah, sorry, Ferris. I do find it, because
Uh-huh.
Ferris agrees with Jeffrey Malone, I find it necessary to point out that you had a little bit of a mistake in your email.
Oh, wow.
Ferris. You wrote you pal Ferris instead of your pal Ferris, and that's inexcusable.
Maybe he's saying to another person named Ferris.
You, pal Ferris.
No, saying you're a pal, Ferris. He has another friend named
says you.
Ferris, and he just wants us to know that he's not the only Ferris, right?
But it just says you pal.
You got
pal
anything from any
Ferris.
Matts this week? Any Matts?
We do
write
have
in?
at least one Matt that
Matt.
wrote in. We're gonna go with this being Matt number 1. Top 500 episodes from Matt. Number 5, Intro to Recycled Cinema. Okay,
Interesting choice.
Number 4, Advanced Criminal Law. Which one is that?
That is really early season 1. That's the pool court case Britta cheated.
That one's really funny.
That is a good one.
3, Advanced Safety Features. Honda. We'll take
good
it.
one.
Number 2, Paranormal Parentage.
Wow.
Okay. All right.
Not my favorite, but I know people come to bat
I
for
like that one.
This is a season 4 highlight, sure.
I think I like that one more than the season 3 Halloween episode when we ranked them.
I could see that, yeah.
Yeah. Number 1, Modern Warfare. I will argue we don't give it enough credit for 1, raising the name of the show in the public eye, and 2, making everything else possible.
I think it gets plenty of credit. I think if we were doing like a list of the top 5 most fairly rated episodes of Community,
That was literally the
sure.
clip on Hulu for like 10 years that played when you started a Community episode.
Yeah, it was. It was Jeff diving out of the room
Yeah.
as the paint exploded. I remember that very well. Mm-hmm. Let's move on to another list from one Bredden Folkentamer. We've
Nice.
got, hey guys, gonna keep these list emails brief, but I realized my dumbass didn't congratulate you. I love a congratulation on covering
love
the
a
entire
dumbass.
run of Community in my series finale email. There's an episode of your podcast for every episode of the show. What an achievement. I agree. Could you tell my parents that, Brandon?
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Can you write me a
Thanks for
recommendation? for new
Did you tell my therapist that I've achieved something?
They don't believe
that'd
me,
be
and they
great.
will not listen.
No, I should probably get my therapist. Just you haven't achieved anything. Anyway, thanks for letting your listeners be a part of the show and powering through my ramblings for the last season and a half. You've been a good sport, Brandon. Keep it up. All right.
Yeah,
I hope you get
thanks,
well soon.
Brandon.
Anyway, Brandon's top 5 underrated episodes. Number 5, Ladders from season 6. Frankie's first episode, one of Brandon's favorite episodes of the last season. Number
Okay.
4, Basic Rocket Science from season 2. He says a good, fun episode that doesn't get much recognition due to season 2 being as strong as it is. And I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It gets left out of the conversation too often. Number 3, one of our favorites, Intro to Political Science from season 2. He says a good, fun episode. That's what you said about Basic Rocket Science.
It's
We need to
copy
vary it.
pasted.
Good, fun episode. Good, fun episode. So we get it, but what else? He says a good, fun episode that doesn't get much recognition. Oh, it's the same thing.
That's
He
what
wrote
I
the
just
same
said.
thing
It's
both
copy
times.
pasted.
But number 2, Queer
It's
Studies.
copy pasted, Zach. Control P.
That's
Control
not even,
V.
That's not what it is. It's Control
He
C.
printed.
Number 2,
He
Queer
printed
Studies.
it out,
Let
and
me do
he
this.
copied it,
Don't
and then
make
he
me-
glued that shit. Go ahead, Zach. What's number 2?
I'm scared to say. Are you gonna let me?
Yeah.
You don't know either.
It's out of my hands.
Number 2, Queer Studies in Advanced Waxing. One of the funniest episodes of the last season. Love the Karate Kid stuff and the Dean's conflict. That's an episode of contention. We kind of argued about
Yeah.
it on the round table.
I like the Karate
And-
Kid part. You like the Dean part.
And Brandon's number 1 underrated episode, Advanced Safety Features, also season 6. The Honda episode is the lowest scoring season 6 episode on IMDb.
That's
That should
ridiculous.
not be true.
That's
Proof that IMDb
what?
probably isn't the best measure of quality. A Honda CRV, on the other hand, is a great measure of quality. Well said, Brandon.
Brandon, you
don't
earned your
copy and
name in
paste
that one.
shit.
That was good. Good
Don't
number
copy
1.
and paste that shit anymore, all right?
Yeah. I tried to scroll
One
down,
more
but
list, I
can't.
think.
All right, our last one is from our good friend Jen. Jen's top 5 underrated episodes. She says all episodes except those listed above are highly rated to me, so I looked to IMDb to see which episodes had lower ratings that I don't think deserve to be rated low. Okay, similar to
The
what I had
Stephen
going
Baker
on.
method.
Art of Discourse, already wrong. Bondage and beta male sexuality, also wrong. Messianic myths and ancient peoples, I'll take that one.
a
The
good
pilot, okay.
It is-
Football
maybe-
feminism
honestly-
in you, I like football feminism in you quite a bit.
Honestly, maybe the pilot has genuinely become an underrated episode of the series.
I like the pilot.
I think I'm with that. Good choice.
Football feminism in you is a great season 1 episode.
Yeah.
It almost, I think, cracked my top 5 season 1 episodes. It was probably close. And the first 10 episodes of season 6 all have a rating of less than 8 out of 10, are therefore underrated. Wrong, but that's okay. Thanks, Jen.
I think at least 1 or 2 of those episodes. I think Ladders and Basic Crisis Room Decorum are worth an 8 out of 10.
But you think that 10 of season 6's episodes are at least an 8?
No, what she's saying there is that on IMDb, all of the first 10 episodes of season 6 have a rating of less than 8, which means that they're all underrated.
I know, and I'm saying that maybe 2 of those are underrated, but I think that most of those have the score they deserve. If it's
I don't
less
think
than
she's
8.
saying they all need to be an 8. I just
That's
think
what she's
saying.
saying. They're all underrated because they're rated
Guys,
less
write
than
us
8.
in top
which
5
means
lists
that they
of
are
what's
by
Jennifer
definition rated under 8 and therefore underrated because 8 is where they should be, is what she's saying.
Do you want to drag this out? I'll fucking drag. We'll drag, baby. We'll drag this out. What I'm saying is that 8 is the ceiling of all of those 10 episodes. So that's why she said it. Not saying that every single episode deserves to be an 8.
That's
but
literally
the
what she's
ceiling.
saying. Read the sentence.
I
And are
have-
therefore due to the fact.
Write us in. Tell us what's up. Anyway, this has been another episode of Community Superlatives with Zach and Steven. This has been a lot of fun. I don't know if we accomplished a whole lot, but I had fun. Thanks for writing us in your lists. Let us know on social media. Oh, wait. Right as we get out, tell me your list. 5 to 1. Real fast. Run them through that way. We didn't do it like that.
Fuck. Number 5, wedding videography. Number 4, beginner pottery. Number 3, basic human anatomy. Number 2, analysis of quartz-based networking. And number 1, interpretive dance.
Gotta ask, did you say cork or quartz there?
Cork.
I heard a tss at the end.
Cork.
Write us in along with the gen thing. Cork or quartz, the people want to know. My top 5, number 5, comparative religion. Number 4, the psychology of letting go. Number 3, celebrity pharmacology. Number 2, virtual systems analysis. And the number 1 for me, underrated episode is app development and condiments. Steven, next week we're going to be back to tell these people yet another top 5 list. I'm excited and a little bit scared for how our relationship is going to make it through to the other side.
I know, this next one might be tough.
But next week we're going to be back to talk about the top 5 golden era, which I'm calling the first 3 seasons of Community. We're ranking the top 5 golden era episodes, so join us for that. Alternatively, if you like what we're doing here and you want to help us take it further as we move from Community to The Good Place, patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. As little as $5 gets you all of our exclusive content like Brokeback Bebop and You Can't Disappre Show, along with episodes like these a full week early. All of our free feed stuff goes up a week early, so you could already hear our top 5 Golden Era episodes over on Patreon.
Yeah, go check it out.
Where else can the people find us?
You know, if you want to get a good peek at our golden era, come check us out over on Twitter, over at You Can't As a Pod. We're also on Instagram. Find us over at Can't Disappoint Podcast.
Okay.
We're also on YouTube and Facebook under the whole name of the show, You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
Steven, this has been something, hasn't it?
It's been lovely, lovely, lovely.
From inside the Dreamatorium.
Lovely, lovely. Lovely,
Black Lives
Leslie,
Matter.
Laura Lockley. Here,
I'm
signing
Zach.
off. I'm Steven.
And we love you. We'll be back next time.
Take care. Toodaloo.